Hi, I'm Mark Toole with 8020service.com. Today's customer service video question of the day comes from Quora, and the question is, what result is a company looking for when it's treating their employees and customers poorly? Um, Interesting question. It kind of seems like that sometimes. Obviously, the literal answer here is that no company sits down and has a meeting, or even a single person sits down in their own head and thinks, let's treat our customers and our employees poorly. I think that'll be a good business decision. No, they all think they're treating their customers and their employees well, or well enough at least. But that doesn't mean it always works out that way. In fact, oftentimes it doesn't, or people wouldn't be asking these questions. So, what result is a company looking for when they do these things that make customers and employees think that they're being treated poorly on purpose? Well, it starts with good intentions. They want things like efficiency. They want standardized operations. They want low costs, yes, but not just low costs. They want all these things that they think are good, and they get them in a way that may or may not work as well as they'd hope. One of the other answers here, this guy was writing a little bit about the agency problem, where the person who makes the decision, if they're far enough removed from the implementation of that decision, that it can go wrong. We've all had, at least I have, I'm sure we've all had jobs, lower level jobs when we were younger, where you get a job somewhere and the boss tells you to do a thing, and they tell you to do it in some really inefficient or stupid or pointless way, and you say, hey, wouldn't it be better if we did it this way or not at all? And they basically tell you, hey, stop, just do what the book says, that's what we have to do here, and you don't like it. You do as little, you do it because you want the money and you want to work there, but you're not happy about it. You don't enjoy it. You don't put much effort into it. You don't really try, and that comes through in your work. But under this system that they've built with these rules and these standardizations and these efficiency monitoring systems and all this other stuff, you're completing the minimum requirements, you're fine, you're good in this big corporate organization. There's nothing they can specifically say you're doing this wrong, because they specifically list out some rules and you're hitting every single one of them, but the end result still suffers. This guy went on to talk about Nazi concentration camps in Dachau as an example of leadership strategies. I'm not gonna go there, but point is, if people have been making that comparison, first of all, between working at your company and being in a concentration camp by the Nazis, you've got bigger problems than I can answer for you in this question, honestly. Hopefully no one's comparing you to the Nazis. Hopefully you're not comparing yourself to the Nazis. I don't make these videos to help Nazis. But what result is a company looking for? They're looking for a good result. They're looking for happy customers. They usually have a lot of customer complaints and questions and problems coming in, and they want them handled as quickly and as efficiently and as cheaply, yes, as possible, in an acceptable manner. The problem is, someone like me, someone like you, can sit there and say, hey, we want to handle all these issues that are coming in as well as possible. Well, what do you mean by well? Well, I guess we should respond quickly. Okay, so efficiency? Yeah, fine. We should treat the customers well, answer their questions, make sure they get the information they need. Oh, okay, so we need quality standards. Okay, fine, if you want to do it that way, sure. And it goes on and on from there. A general idea of, like, give someone good customer service if they need it is easy for one person to say, but 20 people down the chain of command, they break it up into these increasingly complex steps. Well-defined steps they can put in a user's guide or a procedures manual, or write into a script, or eventually have some kind of ridiculous AI system take over. Each of these people is doing their individual role according to the standards set by the person above them, and so forth. But the whole thing breeds complexity, and each one of those steps, many of them unnecessary steps, adds basically pieces to the system that can break and do break and will break when it gets so big and complicated and unwieldy like this. Again, no one's telling you, hey, treat your customers poorly. But what happens if you have somebody working in your customer service department, and they come in to work and someone yells at them because they were 2 minutes late, and then they go to the bathroom and the piss break timer alarm comes up because they were gone for 9 too many seconds beyond their allotted piss break, and this thing just beeps in their ear all day long, and they answer the same question all day long, and they're reading off a script. And they're an intelligent person, and they're sitting there and thinking, hey, all these people are asking about this, why don't we just make this information more clear somewhere? But if they, maybe when they first start, they even make the mistake of suggesting that to their immediate supervisor, who tells them to get back to work, and because there's a lot of phone calls that need answering. They answer the question according to the scripts that they were given, that they had no say in the creation of those scripts. They will be punished if they don't use those scripts. So, clearly this is not an enjoyable job. You don't do this job unless you feel that you don't have any other choice, or if you feel that it's going to get you somewhere else in the company. Maybe. Those days are probably gone. But you're not doing this job because it's something that gives you any sort of fulfillment at all. You're doing it because you feel like you have to. I'm not going to compare it to a concentration camp slave laborer. They obviously had it much, much worse than a guy working in a customer service call center somewhere. But the similarity you can make, I guess, is that, well, at least in the case of the customer service guy, he feels he can't leave. He feels he doesn't have any other choice. He feels he has to do these things or he wouldn't be there. If he doesn't feel that way, he would quickly quit and go do something else because nobody wants to work in an environment like that. So you naturally get in these jobs the lower end of your potential employee spectrum, whatever you want to call it, skills, intelligence, motivation, all of those things. And then you treat them poorly so they don't even want to be there. They feel like they have to be there. You know, they wake up on Monday and go, oh, case of the Mondays, and then they go out on Friday and drink a bunch and say, oh, celebrating the weekend, because they hate what they're doing for their job, unless you make them work on the weekend, in which case, you know, adjust that for days. But these people are not going to go above and beyond at all. They're going to stick to the bare minimum as dictated in the rules given to them, efficiency. They're going to do only what they're required to do, because even in many of these organizations, if I'm working there and you're the customer and you call me and you have an issue with something and it's not in the script, but I know how to fix it, so I just fix it, I end up getting in trouble for going off the script, especially if I make a mistake on it. I'm certainly not going to take a chance and make a mistake helping you when it'll just get me in trouble, and I don't know or care about you or the company or the business. I've never met anybody with any say in the actual decision-making of the business. This is what happens in these big, overly complicated organizations. Nobody's doing this on purpose. That covers the treating the employees poorly, is that they're, well, first of all, it's built to have basically very low-level people doing this job, and the people above them don't really respect them, and the people above them don't there's a chain of disrespect going down from all these people who are just following orders. Again, not to make another Nazi reference, but following orders, doing as they're told, doing only what they're told, no more, no less, because that will get them noticed, and if they're noticed, they may be singled out for coaching or whatever these people want to call it, things they don't want. They just want to show up, bang out their 8 hours, get their money, and go home. Treating the customers poorly, kind of the same thing. They have these systems, these standardized things. They want the idea, which sounds good to maybe if you don't know what you're talking about, or to the uninitiated, sounds good. Every customer that contacts us, no matter which person they get, no matter if they use phone, email, live chat, walk into the front door, send a fax, write a handwritten letter, and tape it to a pigeon, they all get the same experience regardless of which agent they deal with or which method of contact they choose. It must be standardized. It must be the same in every way. Well, you try to standardize it too much, it's going to standardize, again, down. It's going to standardize to, this is the minimum that must happen, that must be required, and people will aim for that minimum. They won't aim for, say, the best experience we can give this customer. They won't aim for, I'm going to fix this problem so it never happens to anyone again. They'll aim for, I'm going to answer this correspondence in the way that I was told to do, no more, no less, so that my boss doesn't notice me and I don't have to have an unpleasant conversation. That's what happens. The company isn't looking for unhappy employees or unhappy customers. They may or may not care too much how happy these people are, but really somebody in a position of making a decision says a very reasonable thing, But when that gets translated through too many layers of other people, too many layers of added complexity, it begins to break things. The complexity, like I said, I've said this before, written about this. The customer service is a complicated, or can be a complicated issue, a complicated problem. That's why it needs a simple solution. They take a complicated problem and give it a vastly more complicated solution, and you get what you have now. You get people asking questions like this. You get people making comparisons between customer service and the Nazi concentration camps, and everyone kind of goes, yeah, that makes sense. That's what you get when you have too much complexity and nobody with, as Taleb would say, any skin in the game in this matter. What I help businesses with, what I do, is to keep these things simple, easier easier said than done is what I'm trying to say. Easier when you're smaller, easier when you're starting out. For these massive, huge corporations, I don't know if there's a fix for that or not. There probably is, but really, if you're watching this, if you're running a business, if you're running customer service for a business, keep things simple. Don't add complexity where you don't need to. Anytime you say, well, what if we just create this elaborate thing for this one time? No, don't do that. And most importantly, anticipate and prevent problems before they happen rather than paying anyone to sit around solving them. That's the real efficiency. You don't need to time piss breaks when you do that. Most of your customers never have to contact you with any problems when you do this right, and the few that do can be handled much more easily by intelligent, thinking human beings with less concern for efficiency because they're not vastly overworked, vastly busy, impossibly large volumes of complaints every day. I could go into this more. I do go into this more in my other videos, my other written answers on the website, 8020service.com. But for now, I'll wrap this video up. This is getting long enough. Thought this was interesting, useful, valuable, all of those. Upvote, thumbs up, like, whatever platform you're watching this on. Subscribe, follow. I do one of these videos every weekday on a customer service question. And I write regularly on business and customer service. Like I said, on Quora, on the website, 8020service.com. And then, of course, these videos and the email list as well. So I'll wrap this video up here, and I'll be back tomorrow with another.